The JKB back with another video. 30 years ago, Legend of Zelda came out. Today is the 30th anniversary for the series Legend of Zelda. It came out on February 21st, 1986 in Japan, and it, in a way, changed my life. I know a lot of people are going to be making videos about this today, and they should. You should talk about what is really meaningful to you in your life, and this is one of those videos where I might get sappy, but let's just be honest here. I mean, we game for different reasons. Some of us do it for enjoyment. Some of us were raised on video games. We didn't have a father figure around, and I decided that I'd just tell you the story of how I got into Legend of Zelda and what it means to me. So, it's a very simple story. I mean, I think a lot of you might be able to relate to this, but back in the day when Nintendo was flourishing and, you know, everybody had a Nintendo, I had a Sega Master System, and I had Wonder Boy and Choplifter and, you know, Vigilante and those, you know, Gangster Town with the light gun. It really wasn't until I went to grade school when I realized that Nintendo had created something that I'd want even more than my Master System. And when I went to school, somebody had a copy of The Legend of Zelda, and it was in a gold Nintendo, you know, classic case, box and case and everything, sleeve brand new. They just brought it to school. And I remember looking at it thinking, like, so many different things. Like, the cartridge was gold. And what did that mean? Was it special? Why was it special? I had to find that out, because at the time, Indiana Jones basically taught me that gold, this sounds ridiculous, but gold statues and gold items, these were things that the Nazis wanted. And Indiana Jones, he wanted those to be in a museum. He wanted to take those back. It wasn't about value, it was about legacy of that item. This sounds ridiculous, doesn't it, guys? But to me, I thought, this is an important item because of Indiana Jones. So we went and played it, and I was just taken back. I couldn't believe that you could do so many things. It was non-linear, it was open world, you could do what you wanted. First game I ever played that played like that, and I never played it again. Legend of Zelda, it sounds weird, never played it again. So, to give you a little bit of backstory on how I actually got into the series, my father and I didn't meet until I was 13. When I was 13, my mom, I think I had a Nintendo, but I didn't have Legend of Zelda at the time. I had Mega Man and a bunch of other games, but I still had my Master System, which was my most important item. I know that sounds crazy, but because I talk about Nintendo all the time, but how can the easiest way to explain this is my mom, she knew that video games were something that meant a lot to me because I didn't have my father around and I didn't know where my father was. That's a long story. That's a whole other story, but I think some of you might be able to relate to that. But when I got older, Super Nintendo came out. My mom was like super poor, couldn't get me a Super Nintendo. Link to the Past was mind-blowing. There was a store called Zeller's in Canada, and I went to it, and Link to the Past was on display, and I used to go to the mall alone just to play the demo that was on display at Zeller's. So I was obsessed with this, and it was crazy because I lived in this building, co-op building, very, very cheap. I mean, didn't have much money. My mom really wanted to do the best that she could do for me. My father, again, wasn't around. I really think that she replaced my father with video games. I know I've made that analogy on the show before, but it really came down to the day when the landlord of the building, he got a Super Nintendo for his kids on that Christmas day. I don't know the dates, and I literally came to the house on Christmas Day, and I played it more than his two little girls. They were like, oh, it's cool, it's Mario and whatever, Super Mario World. And I was never not at his house. And he knew how much it meant to me. And they were a very Christian family, very religious. And one day, I think 2 weeks later, he knocked on my door and he said, did Santa bring you a Super Nintendo? And I said, no. And he, from behind his back, had the Super Nintendo, and he said, this means more to you than anybody else I know. And he gave me that Super Nintendo, which was one of the first nice gestures I've ever experienced in my whole life. I mean, that was incredible. And long story short, I have a Super Nintendo now, but now I need Link to the Past. And my mom comes up to me one day and says, do you want to meet your father? And I think, I don't know. I don't know if I want to meet my father. And I make a decision. You know, he used to play the game snooker, which is a very, very hard sport. And my mom had old tapes of his that he had sent to show me, for me to like watch and be like, okay, I want to meet him or not. And I decided, sure, I'll do this. Now, I don't talk to my father anymore. That's another whole story. But let me just say, I went down to Toronto. I lived an hour north of there. I met my father. And the first thing he did was basically, sounds ridiculous, but he tried to buy my love. I mean, it was 13 years. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. It was very awkward. We went to Toys R Us, and he was like, pick any games you want. And I didn't even look at anything else. I went right to Link to the Past, first edition, bought it. Went home. He brought a TV from somewhere, put it in the basement for me. And this is odd to say. I mean, it's difficult to say this, but that's when video games truly became my father figure. And in a weird way, my father was the one who sent me on that path. He made a decision to let the video games be my father. And he became nobody to me. And I look back on those days and think, thank God for Legend of Zelda. Some of you out there might be saying that this sounds ridiculous. How can this happen? How can video games replace somebody? But when you grow up without a father figure in your life for 13 years, and then all of a sudden you're introduced to a game that teaches you all about adventure, teaches you about trust, good and evil, what's important in life. When your father isn't doing it, and a game like this is in front of you, you really learn everything from it. I mean, there's nothing that I can say other than the fact that this game changed my life. As I played through this game, I got obsessed with it. When I first got the shovel near the Lost Woods, I forget I really wish I could remember all the names, but near the Lost Woods, kind of center of the map to the left a little bit, there's that opening where there's the ghost. Spoiler alert, by the way. If you go into the town, there's a mother who's missing her kid, which I can relate to. And you go into the woods, and you see the ghost of a kid playing a flute, and you find a shovel, and then that's when you can dig around. But I have so many good memories of this game. So many good memories, and every weekend I would go back up to see my father, every 2 weekends. And, I'd just get stuffed into the basement because he didn't know what to do with me. And I would play Link to the Past. And I really bonded with the game. And in closing here, guys, I just wanted to thank Nintendo for giving me that. Because if I didn't have that, it might have been Star Wars. I don't know what it would have been. I really don't know where I would have learned all of those lessons. And I really learned how to love someone. I mean, Link loves Princess Zelda. There's no doubt about it. He's saving her every single time. And as cheesy as it sounds, I love her as well. So thank you so much for watching this, and I hope that today you guys can look back at the series and enjoy it and just enjoy today, guys, because this is once in a lifetime. There's not many other gaming characters out there that we're going to care about this much. I mean, I sure shit believe in 30 years no one's going to have, well, I shouldn't say this, but maybe they will. I don't know. I'm just saying that this means a lot to me, and I hope that the people that it means a lot to as well enjoy the day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on JKB.